Good day, dear friends. Ruslan Belov has prepared the material for you. Let's begin with the most important. We'll go through everything step by step, starting with the Zaporizhzhia axis, where a new offensive phase appears to have been launched just a few days ago. Ukrainian media and Telegram channels are expressing concern, claiming that in the coming days, Russian forces are expected to intensify their offensive in this area. Reports emphasize the active movement of equipment and ammunition toward the front via Mariupol. According to data from various sources, Russia is transferring at least 7 railway platforms loaded with armored vehicles, including tanks, along with over 40 trucks carrying personnel and ammunition. Another railway route is reportedly being used to transport around 20 additional military trucks and 5 haulers with infantry fighting vehicles and airborne combat vehicles, BMPs. All this points to preparations for expanded offensive operations near Huliaipol and Orikhiv. This information is being distributed by Ukrainian sources that allegedly operate an intelligence network in Crimea. Based on published materials, agents have provided Ukrainian intelligence with photographic evidence of Russian troop and equipment movements. Since May, Ukrainian intelligence has been actively working to disrupt these transfers. Numerous videos have been published showing drone strikes on Russian military trains. Ukrainian UAVs frequently ambush moving trains and related infrastructure. Indeed, the Armed Forces of Ukraine, AFU, have succeeded in destroying a considerable amount of Russian equipment and cargo. However, despite the losses, Russia continues deploying troops and materiel. It is highly likely that by the end of June 2025, Russia will complete its regrouping, concentrating a large force near the town of Tokmak. This will enable further advancement northward and increase pressure on Orikhiv, Huliaipol, and nearby towns. Let's now turn to the situation on the ground. In a previous update, the situation around Orikhiv was already discussed. As a result of recent offensives, Russian forces have managed to establish positions in the southeastern and eastern parts of the settlement of Mali Tokmachki. These positions are strategically important because, during the advance, Russian forces succeeded in cutting off a key logistical route used by the AFU to supply units stationed near a former women's prison in southern Mali Tokmachki. As of June 27, 2025, there is no precise information about the current status of this facility, but it is highly probable that the Ukrainian garrison has been encircled. The offensive continues. At the same time, operational updates are coming in from the southern outskirts of Novodanilivka. One video shows Russian units using heavy flamethrower systems, TOS Ochka, and Travers artillery to strike Ukrainian defensive positions. FPV drones have also been observed hitting AFU positions in the area. It is likely that in the very near future, possibly even overnight, Russian forces will attempt to probe Ukrainian defenses along the TO-408 road, aiming to seize several tactically important strongholds and close in on Novodanilivka. That's the situation on the Orikhiv front. But no less important developments are unfolding on the western flank of the Zaporizhzhia front, around the village of Kamyanske. The map has been updated in Russia's favor following visual confirmation, including video evidence published by Ukrainian sources. According to these reports, the central part of Kamyanske came under Russian control between June 26th and 27th. Crucially, video footage released by Ukrainian sources shows that Russian troops managed to cross the Yanchikrak River and secure positions in the center of the settlement. The offensive in this sector reportedly began around June 24th. Numerous videos released by Russian channels show heavy artillery barrages, airstrikes, and rocket artillery attacks. These recordings clearly demonstrate that attacks by TOS Ochka and Travers systems are part of a large-scale preparatory bombardment. Once Ukrainian fire positions were suppressed, the ground assault began. In the first phase, Russian troops captured the southern part of Kamyanske. According to the Deep State Analytics platform, by June 27th, Russian forces had crossed the Yanchikrak River and established control over the central area. The next objective is to secure the surrounding tree lines and adjacent territory. However, holding Kamyansky is not the end goal. Russia's primary objective on this front is to gain control over key railway lines connecting Zaporizhzhia to eastern Ukraine. Pokrovsk, Kramatorsk, Kostiantynivka, and Sloviansk. Before launching a full-scale offensive in these Donbas regions, Russia is likely focusing on severing Ukrainian supply chains. Without disrupting logistics, any offensive could fall short of its objectives. To understand the scale of the task, the distance from current Russian positions in Kamyanska to the target railway junction is approximately 17 kilometers. From Mali Bakhmachki, it's about 12 kilometers. Either way, it's a difficult path, especially considering expected Ukrainian resistance. To reach this target, Russian troops would essentially need to reach the Konka River, which flows east of the reservoir and near Kamy-Shevacha. The map indicates that the offensive line must extend at least to this river barrier. For comparison, in other operations in the northeast, in areas like Sumy or Vovchansk, Russian advances were limited to 5 to 10 kilometers from the border before being halted. Thus, achieving the current objective in the south will require nearly double that progress. Should Russia succeed in cutting off these railway lines, Ukraine's logistics system will face a severe crisis. This would result in the collapse of supply routes for the entire Eastern AFU group, operating in the Sloviansk, Kramatorsk, Kostiantynivka, Pokrovsk and Siversk areas. If these supply routes are lost, the AFU will be left with only one major logistics hub, the city of Dnipro. However, Dnipro itself is under frequent attack. Just in the past 24 hours, the city was hit by a massive barrage involving Iskander missiles and Geran-type drones. One of the videos shows the aftermath of such a strike. An entire industrial zone was reduced to rubble, beyond recovery. This is part of a broader strategy. First, isolate Zaporizhzhia, then shift focus to Dnipro, severing the last Ukrainian supply artery. In conclusion, within the next 48 to 72 hours, Ukrainian forces are expected to abandon the settlement of Zirka and withdraw westward, crossing the Mokra Yala River and attempting to establish a new defensive line near Podobna and Tolstoya. This is due to Russia's planned new offensive, not through Zirka, but in the direction of the town of Mirn. These conclusions are based on video footage from Russian sources, showing intense artillery preparation and airstrikes on Ukrainian positions in the southeast. There are recordings of FAB aerial bomb explosions, as well as strikes on areas that appear to be intended routes for the upcoming Russian offensive. Another video with similar content confirms that Russian forces are likely planning to storm the village of Mirn in the near future. This settlement is already located on the Ukrainian bank of the Mokra Yala River. Capturing this area would allow Russian units to establish a foothold on the Ukrainian side of the river and launch further advances westward toward Pokrovsky. The situation in this sector remains extremely tense for the Ukrainian side. At this stage, the Armed Forces of Ukraine, AFU, have failed to stabilize the front before the start of Russia's advance in the Zaporizhzhia region. This raises a key question. Where will Ukraine find the reinforcements and resources necessary to hold these positions? One possible solution could be the redeployment of reserves from the Sumy direction. However, such a move may give Russian forces an opportunity to resume their offensive toward the city of Sumy itself. It is likely that the Ukrainian command will face a strategic dilemma. Which territories must be defended at all costs, and which ones might have to be abandoned to protect more critical directions? Now, let's turn to the Pokrovsky sector of the front. Over the past 24 hours, Russian forces have continued their offensive. New information has emerged from various analytical sources suggesting that the Russian army has improved its tactical positions in the southwestern part of Vodiane and the southeastern part of Molodetska. Although there is no geolocated confirmation yet, these reports are considered reliable. Close attention is being paid to developments in this area, as heavy fighting is expected in the coming days for both mentioned settlements. These positions are important because they open a path northward towards Serhivka, a village situated on one of the few remaining Ukrainian supply lines that still support AFU troops in the Pokrovsky agglomeration. Regarding the agglomeration itself, the fiercest clashes are currently taking place between Mirnohrad, Shakov, and Novo-Ekonomichin. This area is now the focal point of the heaviest fighting, and it increasingly seems to be Russia's main strategic objective. Not southern Zaporizhzhia, nor the southern Donetsk direction filled with unnamed villages, but precisely this section of the front. According to our sources, Russia is employing its full arsenal of capabilities, including heavy strike drones designed to destroy fortified Ukrainian positions and trench systems along the line of contact. In one video, such drones are shown targeting Ukrainian army positions, ammunition depots, and other critical facilities.